I ended up getting this figure from Dan's Dinosaur. And remember, if you're oriented from Dan's, tell him Dinoscream sent you in the comment note section of your order. It helps out the channel a great deal and it's very much appreciated. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Nanmu Studios review. Today we're taking a look at their new, the once and future king, Tyrannosaurus Rex. There are actually three versions of this figure. The subject of today's review is the future version, which is based off the Buck Rex from the Lost World. The other two versions are the mountain and obsidian versions. Those color schemes are based off the colors of the T-Rex, of how it appeared in the video game Jurassic World Evolution. I've been really excited for this figure ever since Nanmu announced it many months ago. I'm a huge fan of the Jurassic Park franchise, even though I've kind of shied away from buying, higher quality Jurassic Park figures. Obviously, I love the Mattel figures. You can tell by the number of reviews on this channel. And I also love my accurate looking dinosaurs, but I've kind of like taken a step back from these, movie monster style dinosaurs. But Nanmu does such a good job of representing these figures from the movies. They definitely stand out from the rest of the pack. There's a lot of companies doing, unofficial Jurassic Park style figures, but Nanmu has always stood out from the rest of them for the size of the figures, the quality, and the price. Another reason why I'm really excited about this T-Rex figure, everyone and their mother has made a JP style Rex figure, and all those Rexes are based off Rexy from Jurassic Park 1, and most companies will just repaint it green just to call it the Buck Rex. But the male Buck Rex is a totally different animal than Rexy. It's an actual male representation of the species. It's stockier, it's more heavily built, the skull is shorter and deeper, and Nanmu finally gave the Buck Rex a proper representation, and that's why I was really excited for this figure. So let's just go over the packaging really quick before we take a closer look at this figure. You'll notice there's two boxes on the studio. That's because there's two different ways you can order this figure. The deluxe version, which comes with the base and a small unpainted human figure, or the standard version where you just get the figure itself minus the base. I will say with this figure, definitely spring for the extra $20 and get the base. This figure looks incredible on the base. It just adds such an intimidation factor on your display self, displayed on the base it comes with. It just looks really good. I highly recommend spending the extra few bucks and getting the base. So right here is the box that the base comes in. You can see it right here. It's just a great photograph of the base. Trust me, the base is much more colorful than it shows on the box. You got the Nanmu Studios logo right here. Turn around to the side and the back, more Nanmu logos, logos on the top. QR code, really not much to talk about on the base box. Pulling in the box for the T-Rex, you got a nice gray picture of the prototype of the T-Rex figure. Once a future king along the side over here. Nanmu Studio logo. Same thing on the top. You got the logo of Nanmu. Same thing on the back. And that is really it about the packaging. So let's get this figure up on the turntable and take a closer look. All right, let's start with this 360-degree view of the Buck Rex. Man, this is such an incredible and imposing looking figure. Nanmu did an absolute knockout job sculpting this T-Rex. Like I said, everyone makes a JP Rex based off the female Rex from Jurassic Park 1, but no one's really done a true Buck Rex, and this thing really stands out from the rest of the pack. It's just a big, bulky, heavy-set looking Rex, and it just looks absolutely beautiful. And man, that base it comes with, it really adds another dimension to this figure. I just love the base on it. It raises the T-Rex a couple inches off the ground. The base is on an incline. And it reminds me of the end of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom when the T-Rex is, walking towards the edge of the cliff, roaring at the lion at the zoo. So I think that's what that base is. It's meant to be a homage of that. And it just looks incredible. The base is really heavy. It actually feels a little bit heavier than the Rex figure itself, which is a hefty little piece. And the paint work on this thing is absolutely immaculate. Really screen accurate paint job on here. It looks just like the Buck Rex from the Lost World. The teeth are amazing to look at. Just love that translucent plastic that they use. The inside of the mouth details also top notch. This figure costs just over $100, and it looks like something you'd pay, more than $200 for from like one of the higher end studios like Prime One or something. So that is, credit to Nanmu for, the work and quality they put to their figures. and keeping them at an affordable price. Like I said, I absolutely love this T-Rex. It is definitely centerpiece material in my collection. All right, let's just do a couple quick measurements. This figure, if you measure along the curve of the body, is just around 18 inches long and about 5¼ inches tall to the top of the neck. So there's no canon explanation of how big the Buck Rex was in the Lost World. So I'm using just like the standard, length of a T-Rex, which is around 40 feet long. So with those measurements, I'll put this figure somewhere in the 1/26 scale range. Now, before we take a closer look at the Rex, let's take a look at all the goodies you get inside the box with this T-Rex. First up, you do get a nice little postcard with some artwork of the T-Rex, and on the other side, you have some beautiful artwork of the T-Rex in color. And then inside the box, like most Nanmu figures, you do get an unpainted plastic human figure. Now, most of the figures that Nanmu has done are based off characters from the Jurassic franchise. This one definitely isn't from any of the Jurassic films. I have no clue who this figure is supposed to represent. I'm sure someone watching this review will know, and if you do, please let me know down below in the comments. It is a female figure with a sexy top on, with a gun on its holster. Is it Dino Crisis? No, it's not Dino Crisis, because that is a bikini top. I have no clue who this character is supposed to be. It almost looked like Black Widow for a second, but it definitely isn't. But like I said, if you know, just let me know in the comments, because it is really bugging me. I cannot figure out where this character is from. And moving on to the base. The base for this figure is really, really incredible looking. Like I said, it's really, really heavy. It's actually heavier than the Rex figure itself, and is so well sculpted. It looks like the edge of a cliff. You have some beautiful rocky detail all over this base. You have a peg right here for the front foot to clip into, and this figure just looks incredible on this base. And I love the paint job that they did. It has like this iridescent paint job on here. You have pinks, blues, and yellows and orange mixing in. It almost kind of reminds me of like volcanic glass, like just with that shimmering iridescence. They did a really nice paint job on here, and the rock detail and all the cracks and textures are really, really well done on this whole base. Let me just rotate it around so everyone can see all that beautiful detail. And like I said earlier in the review, these bases are part of the deluxe option for these figures. It costs around $20 more to get the figure with the base, but it's 100% worth it to spring the extra money to get this base, because the T-Rex just looks absolutely incredible on here. Like I said, there is a hole on the bottom of the foot. You just place it over the peg, and the T-Rex is mounted on the base. It just looks absolutely awesome like that. All right, let's zoom and take a look at some of the finer details on this Buck Rex, starting with this beautiful head sculpt. This is a fantastic representation of the Buck Rex. If you have any of the other, JP style Rex figures, you notice the head on those is probably a little bit longer and not as deep. That's because when Lost World was in the concept art design, they were going to include a male Rex in the film. Stan Winston Studio went back and redid the animatronic for Rexy, and added larger crest ornamentation on it, deepened the skull, and widened it a little bit, and added a lot more bulk to the body, and gave it a nice bright paint scheme. And then we have a male T-Rex. You can see all this beautiful fine scale detail all over the head. So many different shades of green all over the body. Some of the larger scales, like the osteoderms around the inorbital finessure, are picked out in a bright green color, surrounded by dark green as a nice contrast. You can see the nostril sculpting right here. The orbit around the eye, there's always black shading around the orbit on these JP style Rex figures. I think that adds like some nice character to the figure. You have the bone jutting out on the skull right here, painted in a nice brown coloration. Even look at the bottom jaw. That scale detail is just literally perfection in my eyes. It is just so realistic and accurate looking. It looks absolutely fantastic. The teeth look really, really great. They use this like translucent plastic that they have like some tartar and plaque on there. Just all around a bang up job that Nanmu does on this figure. And then turn the figure around to the other side. Now, there's two things holding this figure back from being a perfect Buck Rex. If you look at the animatronic from the Lost World, on this side of the male, there are actually scratches and scars along the side of his jaws. I really wish Nanmu included that. And the other thing is the eye color. In the Lost World, the T-Rex had yellow eyes. On this figure, it has bright orange eyes, which I actually like the orange eyes. It makes the figure look a lot more imposing. But for those of you looking for movie accuracy, that's a couple things you need to consider: the eye color and the lack of scars on this side of the skull. But other than that, I think it's a beautiful representation of the male from the Lost World. Now, this figure does have an articulated jaw, and it works quite well. You can see it closes really, really flush, and it can open up about that far, so you can get a nice bellowing roar out of it. The gum tissue is painted in a nice glossy color to give it that wet look. And let's turn the figure to the side so we can take a look inside the mouth. Sorry for the weird angle. It's just how my studio lights pick up like these deeper shaded areas. The tongue, it has like mixtures of purple and really like pink, and some beautiful scale detail along the tongue. And then looking at the underside of the upper jaw, a lot of nice scale detail. You actually can see the nasal passages sculpted into the top of the jaw. I always compliment that when I see it. It's an unnecessary detail, but is a very welcome detail. And just the way the mouth looks from the front right here, it just looks like the throat goes on forever. And like I said, they did a great job with the inner details of the mouth on this figure. And then look at the figure from the front. You can see the head is craned to the side, and turn it just right, you get that nice intimidating Rexy binocular vision. And now looking at the top of the head, you can see all that nice scale ornamentation on him. Let me readjust my lights. It's really dark outside. There's like a nor'easter going on, like high windstorms and stuff, so it's really dark for this time of the day. So I apologize if my lights aren't picking up all those nice detail. But here's the top of the head, and then going down to the neck, you have a very beef and thick, robust looking neck on here. The dewlap underneath is beautifully detailed, lots of nice folds and wrinkles. You have all that nice dark green striping along the neck, and you have a little tiny bit of orange and yellow peeking through, and it starts getting more prominent as you get down to the main part of the body. Going down to the front arms, they're not as pronated as they are in the movie, so they're a little bit more accurate, and they're definitely very proportionate looking. Still a little too big for a T-Rex, but they do look really nice. You have nice sharp claws at the end of them that are painted in black paint. You can see all the muscles are nice and tensed in there. I just love all the different folds and wrinkles. This way the skin is sculpted on these Nanmu figures. It gives them a lot of life. They're very reminiscent of Papu figures. Sorry, not Papu. Papo figures, how they look very lifelike, and how they're like, conveying motion. And these Nanmu figures are just getting better and better with each release. And then looking at the figure from the top, you get a nice look of all that striping. You get the bright green with the yellow and orange mixed in with that really dark green, the contrast against it. Some really large scales over the hip bones. Going down to the hind legs, you get some nice big deep muscles, lots of folds and wrinkles. The scale detail is really nice on the face. When you get down to the rest of the body, it's mostly folds and wrinkles. It would have been nice if it was like fully scaled, like the back has some scale detail on it. But when you get down to the arms, legs, and the body, the scale detail kind of goes away. But the way Nanmu painted it, it really isn't that noticeable, but it would have been nice if they had some nice scale detail on here. And then going down to the feet are beautifully detailed. Toe claws are painted in nice black paint. There's some beautiful detail on the scales along the claws. Turn the figure over, you can see the dew claw on the back ankle of the foot. On the other side, some nice scale detail for the belly, very reminiscent of crocodiles. And as you get down to like the pelvic region, those scales get smaller and smaller. Here is the other hind foot. You can see the toe claws are nice and sharp looking. And then turn the figure to the other side. Let's take a look at the other hind leg. Get all that nice muscle detail. The calf muscle is very pronounced and bulged, like it's conveying motion on this figure. And then going down to the tail, you get more of that nice striping, all those folds and wrinkles all the way down to the very tip of the tail. So yeah, I am quite impressed with this T-Rex piece. I think it looks absolutely beautiful, and like I said, just throwing on the base, this adds another dimension to this figure. Moving on with comparisons, first up here is Rebor's Killer Queen. Here is their jungle variant, which is obviously based off the male from the Lost World. I do like the Rexy version of the Rebor figure much better than the jungle version. And as you can see, the head is a little bit longer and not as deep as Nanmu's version, because like I said, this is based off Rexy from Jurassic Park 1. They slapped a green paint job on here. to call it the Buck. But one thing I did notice, the pose of Nanmus and Rebors feel very similar. They're kind of, mirror images of each other. The heads are tilted to the side. They're both in stride, and just they feel very, very similar to each other. And that got me thinking. So we all know these Reborn Rexes have, stability issues over time. They eventually fall over. Reborn released their Dilophosaurus, and it came with bases that you could use to put the T-Rex on, which would help keep it much more stable. I think it's reverse how it goes on there, but you get the idea of what I'm talking about. But what I did notice is that because their poses are very similar, this T-Rex, the Nanmu one, actually fits really, really well on the Reborn base. And I think that looks absolutely incredible on there. So that's an option. If you do have the bases that came with Reborn's Dilophosaurus, you can plop this T-Rex right on it. And next up, here is the OG JP knockoff, the original Papo stand-in green T-Rex. And, this figure is, what is it now, like 15, 16 years old, maybe even older than that. And it's still a fantastic looking figure. Paint jobs are very similar to the Nanmu one, but obviously, the Nanmu one's a much more modern take on it. And it's a far superior figure, but I'll always have a special place in my heart for this Papo figure. It's what really amped up my dinosaur collecting. I was always into dinosaur collecting, and then I discovered Papo, and then it was all downhill with my wallet from there. And next up here is Papo. I keep calling it Papo. I don't know what's wrong with me today. It has to be the weather. Here is their running green T-Rex. And for accurate T-Rex figures, here is Safari Stellar Feathered T-Rex. And continuing with accurate looking T-Rex figures, here is PNSO's Wilson T-Rex. You can see the Nanmu one absolutely dwarfs this chunky Rex from PNSO. And next up here is the Beast of the Mesozoic subadult Triceratops. This Triceratops, if you scale it up to adult size, roughly scales around the 1/18 scale range. So this T-Rex does kind of match up pretty well with it. T-Rex might be a little bit too big against this Triceratops, but if you pose them right, they do look really, really cool in photography. And next up, let's compare it next to some other Nanmu figures. Here it is next to Nanmu's Apatosaurus. Let's get it into frame first. And lastly, here it is next to Nanmu's Giganotosaurus. The Giga figure is roughly the same size as this T-Rex, but because of the way it's posed, it seems a little bit taller. And I know when this Giga figure came out, a lot of people thought this is the way the Giganotosaurus was gonna look in Jurassic World Dominion, and then that teaser footage came out, and everyone was completely wrong. I don't think people would have lost their minds as much if the Giga was based off this design. Everyone, I don't know, some people thought like Nanmu had like an inside job on Dominion, like they actually got the concept art early and made this Giga figure, and that turned out to be completely wrong. And if you've seen the footage, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, final thoughts on this figure. I know we all get kind of tired of the JP style Rexes, but man, I absolutely love this T-Rex. It's about time the Buck T-Rex got some proper representation in figure form. I just love the heft, size, and overall quality of this figure. Nanmu has been doing an absolute bang-up job lately. I actually wish I had more of their figures. I collect so many other things. I collect Transformers, which just like sucks up a lot of my dinosaur budget. But now that I got this T-Rex figure, it kind of reinvigorated my interest in getting higher quality Jurassic Park style dinosaurs. So I'm probably going to go back and buy the female and probably get the Triceratops. Definitely getting the Parasaurolophus that are coming out, especially the carcass. We need more dead dinosaur figures in our collection. That thing looks absolutely great, and I think this is just a great quality piece. Like if you're into the Jurassic Park films, you should definitely be adding this to your collection. This T-Rex would definitely be a centerpiece in your collection. The only negative I have to say about it is just the total screen accuracy, the eye color, and the lack of the scarring on one side of the face. Other than that, I think this thing is perfect. And if you're considering getting this figure, like I said a few times during the review, highly recommend getting this figure with the base. It adds a whole new dimension of how you display this Rex, and it's definitely worth spending the extra $20. And like I said at the very beginning of this review, I ended up getting this figure from Dan's Dinosaur. Link to order this figure from Dan's is down below in the description of this video. And remember, if you order anything from Dan's Dinosaur, tell him Dinoscream sent you in the notes comment section of your order. It helps out the channel a great deal and it's very much appreciated. So that will do it for the review. I believe the PNSO Allura Titan should come in today. For some reason, I have been really bad. I must have angered the shipping gods when I ordered PNSO figures because I've been getting mine weeks later than everyone else has been receiving theirs. But be on the lookout for that review. Like I said, it should be in today. So I should have that review up over the weekend. Got a couple more Jurassic World stuff I need to review, and some Beasts of the Mesozoic stuff is coming in. So be on the lookout for all those reviews. And as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.